Hello, and welcome to Karmatalks, our monthly video podcast with yoga studio owners, amazing yoga studio owners who share their passion for what they're doing and they share their stories and spread love, all things about yoga. My name is Julia, and I'm your host today, and I'd like to present our guest speaker, Rose Sabin. And she is the owner of Soul Stretch Yoga, an instructor of ERYT 200 Yoga Alliance, and just recently she became an owner of Root to Rise Wellness Bar. Exciting. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be on this podcast with you. Thank you for inviting me. I feel very honored. Thank you. This is great.
Yes, excellent. So, how are you doing today, Rose?
Oh, I am doing wonderful. I feel very blessed and fortunate to be here. You know my background a little bit. I am a cancer survivor, so I've been in remission for 2 years. So every day to me is a gift. And so I take nothing for granted, the least of which is my good health. And so I'm just thrilled to be breathing and living and working and trying, like you said, to spread those good seeds, those very good seeds of love, because that's what we need right now. You know, we need a lot of positivity. We need a lot of good vibes, and I'm just thrilled to be able to do that and walking this planet, because every day for me is a gift. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I do agree with you. Those love vibes or, positivity vibes. I like picking them up too and spreading them.
Oh,
It's
yes,
amazing.
yes. Yeah, because it's tough these days, as I know you do this podcast with a lot of studio owners. It's very challenging these days in light of what's going on. I remember, Julia, in the beginning of the year, my classes were all themed on the fact that it was the year 2020, right? So when we think of 2020, we think of glasses, right? So
Mhm.
like, it's supposed to be like good vision, the year of clarity, the year of
Oh.
the year of clarity in our lives. So in the beginning of the year, I was talking a lot about, good vision, good internal vision. And that was in January and February. And I would inspire my students and encourage my students to find out with clear vision what they wanted to manifest in 2020. And so as the first quarter moved on, no one could predict this whole COVID thing and all the changes that have happened. So it's ironic, this year, there's no accidents, there's no coincidence. This year was meant to happen as it's happening. There's a lot of clarity, and we're in this huge paradigm shift that people forget, what paradigm shifts are. Paradigm shifts happen every 7 to 10 years. They can happen on a grand scale, or they can also happen individually. And I think as a country or a nation or as the world, as well as individually, we're all going through big paradigm shifts. And personally, I love the changes. People always equate change with loss. Change is not about loss. Change is about gaining. It's not winning or losing. Nelson Mandela said it's about winning or learning. So right now, we're halfway through the year. It's middle of July, and there's still so much going on. And instead of thinking about all that we've lost, yes, we have to social distance. Yes, yoga classes look so different now, Julia. It is really hard for me. Like this morning, I taught a restorative class. And it's hard to teach a restorative class when you can't be hands-on, right? Or when you have to wear a mask. But, those things have happened and those changes have taken place. But look at all the stuff we've gained, too. Look at all the things we've gained because of this craziness. So to me, change is not necessarily negative. There's so many positive things that have happened in the world as well as with individuals. So, all of us working from home now, like you and myself, Zoom has made it a reality to work from home. I think we're just as productive as we ever were. But I like to think change is a good thing, and as yogis, we are supposed to practice detachment, right? So we have to detach. We have to be willing to detach from the old ways of thinking and the old ways of teaching and the old ways of doing. We have to whatever comes, we got to accept it, and whatever goes, we got to accept it. So it's been challenging for all of us yoga instructors and yoga studio owners. It really has. But I'm rolling with the punches, girlfriend, so life doesn't have to be perfect to still be wonderful, in my 2 cents. And yeah, there are some really strange changes with this COVID, all the things that are going on as studio owners are having to deal with, but I'm rolling with it, and I'm gonna see what I learn from it all, learn from it, because it is the year of clarity, and boy, are we seeing clearly what we all need as individuals, as well as a community. So I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel that it's just this year is happening for a reason, for a big reason.
Yes. Oh, wow. Thanks for sharing all that. I do agree with you. I do think that we all redefine the stories we're living, and
Yes.
we look at the patterns, we let some things go, we hold on to the things that are ours, that we really need, and we're doing our homework, and we're growing.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So I resonate with everything you're saying, and it's great.
Yeah. Yep. I'm
Um,
happy to hear that. And I hope other studio owners feel the same way. Locally, we're here in Cleveland, and some of the studio owners around here are really going through some hard times, financially, because you still got to pay rent, even if our governor here shut us down for 2.5 months. 2.5 months. And so in spite of not having any income, you still have to pay rent, you still have to pay utilities, you still got to pay the your insurance, etc. So it was a challenge, but we all learned from it, and so now we're all back, we're all reopened. The governor opened us back up in June, and our numbers are doing okay. I think we may have to have another shutdown, which is really difficult as well, but we cross each bridges we get there, and all we can do is just roll with it. I love to tell my students, replace fear and control with faith and flow. Put it on pause 1 second.
okay.
Can you put it on pause?
Yes. Yes.
No, there's so much fear going on right now. So I like to tell my students, replace fear and control with faith and flow. Because I think that if you allow what I call the terrorist in your head to get the best of you, especially in this situation that we're going in right now, you can really shut down. And so yoga teaches us to be fearless. Yoga is not just a workout, it's a work in. That's what I love about the practice. That's why I love when students come. I see the change in them, not just physically, but also psychologically, mentally, emotionally. They gain strength, not just in their physical being, but in their emotional state. So replacing fear and control with faith and flow helps us to channel that warrior. So when we come off the mat and into our daily life, maybe we approach things a little less fearfully. It's good to see these changes in students. I think that's one reason why, I love Zoom classes. Don't get me wrong. We had to do them when we were closed, but I feel that sometimes the best class, I think still the one-on-one, the interaction in the studio is so key for so many students. Zoom can only do so much, and I'm glad that we have Zoom, but I'm glad now that many of the states have opened us back up. And so we can continue to bring students in, maybe just on a limited number, but at least they're back in, and they're getting what they need to stay strong and warrior-like during this whole COVID thing. Because I think this thing's going to go on a little while.
Oh yeah. For sure. It looks like it.
Oh yeah. So as people try and figure their stuff out. Is it okay if I swear? I mean, can I say shit, or is that a no-no?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Because I've been told that swearing is my spiritual gift, so that's one of them.
Well, then you can't hide it. You shouldn't hide it.
I'm Italian. I can't hide anything. So, we're going through a major shitstorm. That's what this country's going through. And so everybody needs space and grace to figure it out. And I'm telling my students these days, stop being so judgmental and start being more observant. There's a difference between being judgy and being observant. Being observant means you are listening to someone or looking at them and what they're doing and the choices they're making with neutrality. You're not forming an opinion. They're going to do their thing. You're just going to stand back and watch and support and not judge and not form an opinion based on the choice they make, the thing they did or didn't do. That's observation. Judgment is somebody does something and you instantly make a judgment call. You instantly, it's about their character, about their choice. You know, it's tough enough out there. It's tough enough out there. So if we all take the point of view of observation versus judgment, and if we allow people the space and the grace to work their own shit out, I think we'd be less stressed as individuals, because everybody's so tense and stressed out. I think if we just allowed people that space, I think people will be less stressed. You know, people are so afraid of being judged. Every move we make, you know, the key to freedom, Julia, is living your life on your terms without fear of judgment from anyone. We don't need to be living in fear of judgment. We just need to live our lives. As long as we're not hurting anybody, you know, there's no right or wrong choice. Live your life. That's what yoga teaches us. And to be fearful to make your choices without being fearful of what people will think or say or how they're going to judge you. And right now, there's just so much judgment in this country. It's just, where's the love? It cracks me up. Where's the love? Let's just love, you know? So
that's a good
hopefully
question.
it's a little better in Canada.
Yes, well, I don't know. I think there's enough judgment everywhere, and but there's also enough love, right? So
Yes, there is
balance, and you know, I'm so happy for all the yoga students you have, because it must be so much fun to do classes with you.
Oh yes, I keep them laughing. And my husband, who's a yoga instructor too, they call him the yoga heckler. That's his nickname, because he's, you know, he got to a certain age where the filter is gone. Especially men, they lose the filter after a certain age, and so he says out loud everything that everybody's thinking in the class. So if it's, because I teach a lot of power vinyasa, and it's hard. I mean, it's hard, but you know what? Beautiful girl, you can do hard things. That's what I tell my students, you know? So these challenging yoga classes are these challenging poses are metaphors for life. If you can do hard things on the mat, you can do hard things in your world. I mean, my husband went through recovery. He was an alcohol and cocaine addict, and 34 years ago, he beat both. I went through a battle with cancer. You know, he, you know, when he sat his butt the first time in an AA chair, that was very hard. When I sat my butt in a chemo chair, that was very hard. But you know, I feel that yoga is a metaphor for life. So there's challenging things on the mat. There's challenging things in your life. If you're fearless on the mat, you will be fearless in your life. And if you can, whatever you get on the mat, the breath will take you through it. Just like in life, the breath is going to take you through it. The breath will get you through anything in life. So it's just a matter of, you know, breathing, finding that balance. And I'm so glad that you and Rudy, who's awesome, shout out to Rudy, that you have this Karmasoft, this Karma podcast. I think it's wonderful. It's a great way to inspire other studio owners. Great way to stay positive. Stay positive, studio owners. The world needs you. Keep doing good things. Just tie a knot, hang on, you know, and this too shall pass. It'll pass. It is strictly here to teach us something, this shitstorm, this current shitstorm in 2020, just here to teach us something. Welcome it. Because on the back end of it, we're going to figure out why. And we're going to learn. We're not going to lose. We're going to win, and we're going to learn from all of this. Everything comes to teach us something, you know, everything, whether it's cancer, recovery, a pandemic, government shutdowns. I don't know what else can happen in the year 2020. So hopefully not much. We got 6 months left, so anything's possible.
Exactly. We still have it's a long run.
Yes. Yeah.
But we
So,
persevere, and I like all your enthusiasm and all the positivity that you have. And yes, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for encouraging everybody who is listening. It's a blast. Like, I'm having so much fun already with you.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and I really liked how you called that thing in our heads, that
The terrorist in your
the
head.
terrorist in your head. Oh, that's such an interesting way to put it. Did you come up with it?
Yes, because before yoga, I was always worried about the terrorists halfway across the world.
Okay.
Because I grew up
Uh-huh.
in the 60s, and then I remember all the wars we've been through in Vietnam and Afghanistan, and so many wars. And so for years I was thought to believe that the terrorists halfway around the world, I mean, I remember September 11th and that whole thing. And the terrorist halfway around the world is not the issue. It's the terrorist in here. That is worse than the terrorist halfway around the world. So I try and encourage my students to get rid of that terrorist, because they'll do so much damage. All of these old soundtracks that we have in our heads of thinking we're not worthy, or thinking we're not good enough, or pretty enough, or smart enough, or flexible enough, or whatever. We are enough, just as we are. So that's what I try and encourage my students to do, is to kill that terrorist that tells you, oh, you shouldn't have a podcast. Who are you to think you have a podcast? Or you want to open up a nail salon? You're crazy. Why do you think you want to open up a nail salon? Or I'm going to open up a juice bar. Who am I? I've never done a restaurant before. Who am I to open up a juice bar? We have all these voices in our heads that
Yes.
tell us what we can't do. That's the terrorist. So what yoga does best is tell us what we can do. So it's like a student who comes to the class and they practice headstand and practice headstand and
Mhm.
practice headstand. And it may be a year later, and finally, holy shit, they get down, they get in the headstand, and then their legs come up and boom, they did it. It may have taken them a year of constant practice, but it's progress. That's all it is. And so it takes time with our brain as well. It takes time to break an old habit. It takes time to be willing to let go of an old relationship that doesn't serve us. It takes time to part company with people who are energy vampires that steal from us. We talk about stealing in yoga, non-stealing. We allow so many people to stoke that terrorist in our head. Why? If people are not helping you to live your best life, detach with compassion. Don't allow them to feed that terrorist in your head, because there are other people that will help you kill that terrorist in your head. And they'll tell you you are all that and a bag of chips, as we like to say in this country, because it's so important. And so many of us walk around. Up until I didn't find yoga, Julia, till I was 43. 43 is when I came to yoga.
Uh-huh.
And thank God I found it, because 43, that was almost 10 years ago. I was 40 pounds heavier. I had horrible insomnia. I had bad TMJ. I would grind my teeth at night and my jaw was always locking. I
Uh-huh.
was fighting with my husband. I was,
Uh-huh.
just miserable, just miserable. And, my friend of mine told me to go to yoga class, and I'll never forget that first class. It was horribly hard. It was a hot, powerful class. I wanted to kill my girlfriend. I was like, what hell has she brought me to? And at the end of that 1 hour class, I laid there and I just cried and cried and cried. And it was very releasing, because I finally, in that beautiful corpse pose, I died a little death. I finally shed something that no longer served me. And that's what we do in Shavasana. We die 1,000 little deaths, don't we? We die 1,000 little deaths every time we take the mat. That's why it's such a beautiful practice. And we're so blessed that we have it. I'm so glad that we've embraced yoga in this country over the last 10 years so fiercely. Because 30 years ago, people didn't do yoga like they're doing it now. So I'm so thrilled that so many people all over the world really do it. And it's such a good practice for all of us. I wish more people would do yoga. I really do.
Yes. I yes, I'm quite excited about yoga, having access to yoga, and people like you who inspire others to join the community. And I wanted to ask you about the mobile part of your studio, Soul Stretch Mobile Yoga. So what does it mean?
Okay, that's a great question. So I came to yoga at 42, and before I came to yoga, I owned an advertising agency. I was in the marketing world, and I worked for corporate media for over a decade, and I was very good at it. I was very successful at it. But corporate media was very stressful, and it was part of the reason why I was overweight. It was part of the reason why I had insomnia and had TMJ in my jaw and suffered migraines. So when I got my YTT certification, when I became a teacher, I wanted to take it out to corporations. So I wanted it to be mobile. I wanted it to be accessible. So that's what we did for the first 3 years of our business. We didn't have a studio. Now we have 3 studios, but back in 2014 and 15 and 16, we were mobile. So we went to all kinds of corporations all over Greater Cleveland. We went to big companies like Vitamix and Hinckley Lighting. We went to schools. We still have a lot of corporate accounts where we were at schools, and we were at churches and condo complexes and country clubs and on and on and on. So we would take the yoga to them. So instead of, if they couldn't get to a yoga studio, or I learned in the early years, many people were intimidated to go into a yoga studio because they had expectations. They didn't know what to expect, but they had judgment. That's why another reason why we have to drop judgment. We just have to go and observe. So in the early years, when I first started teaching back in 14 and 15, people were like, oh, I don't know what that is, or that's bizarre, or I don't know if they chant, or I don't know if it's a religion, or I don't know, all this commentary. And so I would just call up HR departments and say, hey, your people are stressed. I know, because I was one of them. And how do we lighten the stress? How do we get people to be more healthy? So in turn, they are more productive and more happy in the workplace. So about the time that I launched the mobile yoga, a lot of companies were giving incentives to employees to go to yoga and to go to fitness classes. On top of that, insurance companies were incentivizing corporations with all kinds of incentives to get people to host on-site health and wellness classes. So, Vitamix and some of these other companies were trendsetters 6-7 years ago, offering for free on-site yoga and fitness classes. Now it's become very trendy, and I'm sure in Canada there's probably a lot of companies that do it as well. Many companies here in Cleveland will allow they'll let their employees take the hour at lunch or take the last hour at work to go to a yoga class, and they pay for it. So it's wonderful to see that, because that is what we really need in corporate America. We need to decompress people. We need to help them find their balance. And if they can just take an hour at the workplace and practice breath work, movement, mindfulness, meditation, it really helps eliminate stress levels, but also it helps them lower their blood pressure. It addresses diabetes. It addresses heart issues. It's less stressful when they go home. So many positive things. So the mobile part is how we started. And then we just built that community so nicely that I decided, you know what, I'm going to open a few little boutique little studios. So our little studios are small, but they're mighty. They're just darling little boutiques. All 3 of my locations are in nature. We do a lot of classes outside, thank God, because of this COVID thing. It's been helpful. And because I try to encourage students to get back to nature, to cut the white noise and go back to nature, because that's how we connect with God, so, but that's how it all started with the mobile.
Wow, that's amazing. What a story.
Thank you. Yeah, it's only been a couple years, but it feels like it's been a long journey.
Yes, from just listening to you, I feel like you have so much to say, so much to share, and just
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of experience. Wow.
And I'm still going, so I know that after having cancer, Julia, I will never bitch about getting older again, because it's a privilege denied to many. So I turned 52 this year, and I'll welcome every single birthday, and I'll keep going and going and going and going until one day I'm gone.
Yes.
So
Well,
yeah,
every
yeah.
day, yes, enjoying every day.
Every day's a gift. It
Yes, every
really
day is
is.
a gift.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing I wanted to ask you, and I'm very curious about, is your yoga retreat in Italy.
Yes. Yes.
And it's,
So I
tell us
am
a
full
little bit
blooded.
about.
Oh, I'd love to. I love everything Italian. So I'm full-blooded Italian. Both my parents were immigrants from Italy, and they came here to this country in the 1950s. And I love my culture. I love my background. And so I went to Italy many, many years with my husband and traveled pretty much all over and extensively in Italy. And Italy is one of those countries that um, it fills up your senses, all of your senses.
Mhm.
Italians are so passionate about everything: food, wine, love, family, friendships. Everything is, they approach everything with just 110% total passion. So I would actually theme my classes on Italy many times, Italy and Hawaii, because that's another place that I love. And so my students were saying, you should lead a retreat to Italy. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. So we're doing it every other year. My first year was last year, last October. We were there just before all of this pandemic. And I led 14 people on a tour that I called Eat, Pray, Practice. There was a book out many years ago by, I think her name was Elizabeth Gilbert, and she wrote a
Yes,
book,
yes, that's
yes, about her travels. It was a memoir. And so we ate a lot, we practiced a lot, and we prayed. We um we all visited the beautiful religious sites of Italy and Florence, and it was an amazing trip. Yogis eat, we eat very well, and in Italy we ate exceptionally well. So it was a wonderful experience for all of us, just practicing. In this country is old. We have areas of this country that are 400, 500 years old. But in Italy, oh my God, I mean, we were staying in an area that was 1,500 years old and practicing in areas that were 2,000 years old. So there's an old soul to Italy. And you could live 100 lifetimes and still not see everything there is to see in that country. It's just a magnificent place to practice yoga. And amazingly so, there's not a lot of yoga studios in Italy even today. And I think maybe it's because they're so devout Catholic that maybe they feel that it goes against their Catholicism. I'm hoping and praying that because the more I go there, maybe down the road I'll see a yoga studio there someday. Maybe I'll go and open a yoga studio there someday. We might have a Soul Stretch Italia version. But in the meantime, I do plan on offering these retreats every other year. So this past year we went to Tuscany, and then in 2021 I'm going to lead a group to the Amalfi Coast, and that is
Mhm.
spectacular. We're going to go see Pompeii and practice yoga along the Amalfi coastline, and it's just beautiful. Have you been there, Julia?
No, but that sounds like a dream. I haven't, I've been to Spain, but not Italy, and it's one of my dreams to go there. And I think it's absolutely amazing. It's beautiful, everything is delicious,
Oh
and uh,
yes.
and it's just so much culture and history. You feel inspired and just driven in a
Oh,
different
for
ways,
sure.
right? In a different,
Spain's beautiful. Spain
yeah.
is beautiful. And where are you from, lovely lady?
I'm from Russia with
Oh,
love, deep.
I'm sure there's
Love
beautiful
life.
areas there too.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
In Russia, there's lots to explore too. Yes, and I just I wondered how you guys can do so much yoga after eating so much pizza and pasta. I don't know. Just these two don't go together for me.
I know, but I'll tell you, well, the real question is, how do you do yoga after so much wine? Forget the pasta. The
Exactly.
pasta is
Yes.
one thing, it's the wine, because we were drinking quite a bit. But we loved it. We practiced first thing in the morning, and then we would practice in the evening at sunset after we digest, and then we'd go back and have more cocktails. But it was such a wonderful experience. It was 13 beautiful ladies and one wonderful man that joined us, and
Just one.
it was wonderful. It was such a great experience. I hope you get to go. I hope you get to go someday to Italy and see it.
Yeah, sounds like you had an interesting group dynamics there.
Oh, we did. And you don't know how things work when you travel with people, but we all had such a great time that I think all 13 of us will go back again in 2021. We just have to wait until we are allowed to go back to Europe, because I think right now all the borders are closed, unfortunately. So I'm glad that I was able to do that trip in 2019, because I don't think I would have been able to do it this year. So, and for all those yogis out there, if you haven't been to Italy, try, please go. You'll love it. It's just beautiful.
Yes,
So
yes. I mean, yeah. Well, now it's a pause, but definitely I look forward to you making it happen. You know, making this
yes.
retreat reality.
Oh yes.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your new venture, and you know what it is, and I'm very excited about it. Your let me see, I put a note how it's called, Root to Rise Wellness Bar.
Yes. So we are a wellness cafe. So as I had mentioned to you, I'm a cancer survivor. It's funny, before the cancer, which was, I got cancer in September of 17, and I thought I was doing everything right. Julia, I was drinking green juice every day and eating kale and drinking lots of green tea. And I was in yoga. I did yoga 3 or 4 times a day. I did spin class a couple times a week. And I thought I was so healthy, and I was very healthy. But then the cancer came, and it was shocking in the beginning, because I thought, oh my gosh, why me? But then, people say, well, why not me? I mean, why was I so different that it couldn't happen to me? And it did happen. And at first I was very upset, because I felt like it was a betrayal of my good health and my wellness, and like, what did I do wrong to deserve it? But then after I came to accept it, because we say acceptance is the key to everything. The acceptance is the key to ending suffering, right? So
Yes.
after I accepted it, and I decided to tackle it, um, I went through my treatments. I had chemos, and I had radiation, and I had several surgeries. And with the help of yoga, spinning, and good nutrition, I was able to get through all of my treatments. And it was interesting, because um, people would see me at the yoga studio. I taught 3 days a week during all of my chemo treatments, bald, no hair, no eyebrows, no eyelashes.
Wow, that's quite something.
um, it was incredible. And I think between the yoga, the good nutrition, the spin, I would go spinning every other week on my off week of chemo, and people were shocked and amazed. But the nurses and the doctors at the Cleveland Clinic were so impressed. They asked me to come and speak at one of their functions, because I was a walking, talking, living, breathing testament to the power of positive thinking, as well as eating good, and exercising and moving and breathing. So that was in 2017, and I thought to myself, as the years rolled, so in 17 I got the cancer, and here we are in 2020. Um, we've had a lot of cancer survivors come to our yoga studio, because I'm very open about it. It's on my website. I talk about it in my own blog, and I talk about it on my own podcast. And we've attracted a lot of other cancer survivors. So many of them are inspired by the fact that I was able to do all that. And I explained it was because of the movement, and it was because of the nourishment and the community. So nourishment, movement, and community is the pillars of our logo. If you look at our logo, which is a beautiful tree, um, that is what we're basing our concept on. So it was a natural for me to expand the brand, the yoga brand, into a wellness cafe. So it's the concept is not new. I'm sure there's a wonderful wellness cafes up by where you are. It seems like Toronto and Los Angeles and Boston and Chicago are 2 to 3 years ahead of us in Ohio. So we're surely, but slowly, we're seeing more wellness cafes open up. But what I mean by wellness cafe is there's a focus on plant-based. We're pretty much vegan or vegetarian. Um, now I am not a practicing vegan or a vegetarian, but I am very much plant-based. And so I'm trying to inspire our local community to do the same. We're not saying give up meat or dairy, but we're saying maybe once or twice a week, you replace meat products with a plant-based meal. And what we're trying to do is offer them that alternative. And we've only been open, it's a 1 month today that we opened, and we're doing great. Our local community up here is really embracing it. They're seeing the need because really there's nothing like us here right now in town. And so, yes, they're still going and getting their hamburgers and their hot dogs. And, and we encourage them to do that. We encourage them to go and eat, whatever they want to eat, because there's no judgment. Remember, no judgment.
Exactly.
But if you can replace 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 meals a week with something plant-based, so we offer beautiful, beautiful plant-based options. Like we have avocado toasts, we have smoothie bowls, we have bulletproof coffees, we have wonderful juices, cold fresh pressed juices, protein balls. We offer so many different things, and we put interesting ingredients in them for health and wellness, like ashwagandha or bee pollen or maca root, or and on and on and on. And so it's interesting because people will walk in and say, well, what do you use MCT oil for, or what do you use collagen peptide for? So we're trying to educate them, because all of these things are wonderful herbal alternatives and remedies to whatever ails you. It was interesting, when I was in chemo, some of my chemo that they were using on me was plant-based, like Taxol. Taxol is a very strong chemo that I was on, and the base of it is the Venca plant, which is a cactus in nature. And so it got me thinking that if we incorporated more of those types of foods in our diets, if we ate more aloe, or if we ate more bee pollen, or some of the other things that we serve at our wellness bar, maybe we can help clear our bodies of free radicals and cancer cells. And the other thing we're trying to educate people is to stay away from processed, stay away from artificial colors. So evil. I can't even tell you, so evil. Stay away from artificial flavors. Try and buy as organic as possible. And the good news is more and more places, grocery stores, like Kroger's. Kroger's is here in Ohio. They are the second largest grocery chain in the country. And they are carrying now more organic options at reasonable prices, so everyone can afford it. So it's easier and easier, I think, for us to make better choices. And then once in a while, we have fun and we make a choice that's maybe a little naughty, which is good. Because I love my chocolate, and I love my cake and pie, and I love a good burger, and I love bacon. But plant-based is really, really a good way to be. So, and it was just a natural fit, and we called it Root to Rise, because you really have to root down in what you believe in. It's a yogic term. Root to Rise is a yogic term. You have to root down in what you believe in. You have to be strong in your foundation so you can rise up. And you got to take care of yourself, Julia. Your relationship with you is the most important relationship you have. It affects your relationship with everybody else. So if you're not feeling well physically or mentally, you're not going to do well out there. If you can't be of service to yourself, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. And especially as women, we prioritize everybody else, our kids, our husbands, our parents, our coworkers, our siblings. We put everybody first, and I love it. A lot of times I theme in my class something called the airplane rule. Oprah Winfrey, you know who Oprah Winfrey is?
Yes, I do. She
wrote a book called What I Know for Sure. It's her little memoir. And in the memoir, she talks about the airplane rule. And she talked about it. And she says, it's, self-care is important. It doesn't make us selfish. Self-care is the equivalent of being on the airplane and the oxygen mask drops, right? So you're not supposed to put the oxygen mask on your kid or your spouse or your parent. No, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Because if you pass out, you can't put the oxygen mask on the kid or the spouse or the parent. it's so simple. And so I try and explain that to many of my students, especially my female students, because all they're doing is doing for other people. And then we get burned out, we get bitter, we get resentful, we break down.
Yes.
So if we take care of ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, mind, body, spirit, if we eat well, if we move well, and if we bond with our community, I think then we can be of better service to everyone. So start with me. This is what I tell my students. Start with you. You first. It's not going to make you selfish. Self-care makes you happy. And that also includes eating well. Because if you're eating well and feeding yourself good food, you're going to feel better. Good food is good mood. So that's kind of what our basis of our wellness cafe is. It just rise up ourselves, we rise and help others. Because at the heart of yoga, it's all about service, isn't it? You know, that's what karma is all about. Karma, Karmasoft. Yes, Rudy.
Yes,
You get
Rudy.
what you put out. So, you know, put out some good stuff. Put out some good stuff, but it starts with you. It starts with me.
Yes. Sounds like
Yeah.
you're on a mission. Well, yes, it's you're doing so many wonderful things. I'm so grateful you joined us today.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. Keep spreading love. We'll keep spreading love.
I hope to spread love for a long time, as long as I'm on this planet.
Excellent. Well, that feels like a good positive note to wrap up. And thank you
Yes.
everybody for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Thank you so much.